brothers and sisters, today my voice carries the weight of generations. It carries the pain of ancestors chained, whipped, and shipped across oceans like beasts, their cries lost to the waves, but never forgotten by the earth. It carries the hope of the young African child walking to school in torn shoes, believing his footsteps will lead not just to knowledge, but to dignity. And it carries the stubborn fire of a continent that refuses to kneel again, no matter who calls from across the ocean. Yes, I have heard Donald Trump's words, calling me, calling Africa, as if we are children to be summoned to the table of those who believe they own the earth. I listen not just with my ears, but with the memory of my people's suffering and the vision of our future. And I tell you, Africa will not answer that call with obedience, but with truth. Because the days when foreign capitals decided the fate of African nations are gone. The days when our leaders trembled at the voice of a man in Washington, Paris, or London are buried in the dust of the 20th century. We are awake now, and we see the game for what it is. Donald Trump's call was not just political, it was a test. A test to see if the new Africa has the courage to speak with its own mouth, or if we still let others speak for us. He spoke of partnership. But what is partnership when one sits at the table with a full plate while the other comes empty-handed because the first has stolen his harvest? He spoke of opportunity. But what opportunity comes with chains hidden under the cloth of friendship? My people, do you think Africa has not learned from history? Do you think we have forgotten that every Western call to cooperate has been a demand to surrender our minerals, our land, our water, our future? We have heard these calls before, from colonizers, from corporations, from those who look at Africa and see not people, but resources. So I say to Donald Trump and those behind him, Africa is not your backyard. Africa is not your mine. Africa is not your dumping ground. We are the cradle of humanity, the soil from which civilization first drank water, the heartbeat that has outlived empires. You cannot call me as a master calls his servant. You cannot call me as a hunter calls his dog. If you want to speak to Africa, first wash your hands of the blood and dirt of exploitation. Come with respect, not demands. For too long, our leaders have been tricked into believing power comes from pleasing foreign masters. For too long, they smiled while signing away the wealth of their people. But today, we choose a different path. The call you made, Mr. Trump, will be answered, not with submission, but with the voice of a free people. Some may ask, why speak with such fire? Why not be diplomatic? Because diplomacy without dignity is slavery with pretty words. We have tried politeness. We have tried silence. And what did it bring us? Foreign soldiers on our soil. Foreign companies in our minds. Foreign debts strangling our economies. Presidents in palaces while their people starved. No more. Young Africans, from Dar to Nairobi, Kinshasa to Ouagadougou, are telling me, speak the truth. Tell them we will not kneel. Tell them we will not sell our dignity for aid wrapped in chains. Tell them we will not be the slaves of the 21st century. Mr. Trump, you say America is ready to work with Africa. Then work with us as equals. Do not come with sanctions in one hand and promises in the other. Do not send corporations to take our gold, cobalt, and oil, then sell it back to us at 10 times the price. Do not lecture us on governance while your policies fuel our suffering. You speak of making America great again, but we too are making Africa great again. And our greatness will not be built on your approval. It will be built by African farmers no longer forced to sell crops for pennies. By African engineers powering our cities without begging for foreign electricity. By African students learning in universities on our own soil, not begging for visas to escape. To my people, I say, do not fear the voice from far away. The loudest voices are not always the strongest. Sometimes they are loud because they are afraid. And make no mistake, they fear a united Africa. They fear an Africa that trades with itself, feeds itself, builds for itself. They fear an Africa that no longer believes the lie that our place is at the bottom. Because when Africa rises, the world will kneel before the truth of history. They will have to admit that for centuries, they stole what was not theirs and called it progress. When I speak, I do not speak as one man, not as Ibrahim Traoré, a single name written in sand. I speak as the son of Burkina Faso's red earth. As the son of Africa, the heartbeat of humanity, the cradle from which all civilizations once drank. I speak as the son of those who were told they were nothing, born to serve, ordered to bow their heads, but who rose and proved they were everything. When I open my mouth, I carry the voices of ancestors who tilled the land with bare hands, who defended it with spears and courage, who prayed under sun and stars that their children would one day live free. I carry the mothers who refused to let their children die in shame, the fathers who would rather starve than kneel, the warriors who fell facing the enemy, hearts unbroken. So to you, Mr. Trump, I say this. If you want to talk, talk with respect, not flattery, not diplomacy masking lies, but the respect of equals. If you want to work with us, come with clean hands, no stolen gold, no plundered oil, no blood of nations whose only crime was being rich in resources and poor in weapons. If you want to call me, do not expect me to answer as a servant, but as the leader of a free people, writing their destiny not in Washington, Paris, or Beijing, but in their own hearts. We are not begging for a seat at your table. We are building our own. And if you wish to sit with us, understand this. You cannot bring chains and call them gifts. You cannot bring deals that leave us poorer. You cannot speak to us as children unaware of our own inheritance. To my African brothers and sisters, no one will respect you until you respect yourself. Respect begins when you stop selling yourself for pennies, when you stop letting others define your worth, when you refuse to let fear dictate your choices. No one will free you until you decide to live free. Freedom is not given, it is taken. And once taken, it must be defended every hour, every day, with the same fire that won it. Dignity is not a gift. It is how you stand when the world tries to break your back, how you speak when they try to silence you, how you walk when they tell you your place is in the shadows. They will come with offers, with threats, with wars, sanctions, propaganda. They will say dignity is too expensive, that it will cost you trade, aid, comfort. And they will be right. Dignity will cost you, but slavery will cost you more. Look at our continent, fertile, rich, endless in beauty and wealth. Yet our people are too often hungry, divided, fighting each other while thieves take everything. Africa is not poor. Africa has been robbed. Generation after generation, century after century. Now they try to rob us again, with contracts, signatures, words like partnership, hiding the same colonial hunger. Trump, this is not the Africa you think you know. The Africa you picture in your mind is an illusion, shaped by centuries of propaganda. A continent stripped down to a charity project, a land perpetually waiting for rescue. But that is not the Africa standing before you today. That Africa you imagine, the one of helpless faces, outstretched hands, and silent submission, died the moment our people chose to reclaim their future. This is not the Africa of your aid agencies, arriving with one hand full of promises and the other clutching contracts that bind our economies for generations. We are not a people who must wait for a donor's signature before feeding our children. We are not so desperate that we will trade our sovereignty for sacks of grain stamped with your flag. No, we have learned. Aid without dignity is a leash, and charity without respect is an insult. This is not the Africa of your military bases, where foreign soldiers stride across our soil as if it were theirs, where the echo of their boots drowns out the voices of our own defenders. We will not accept occupation disguised as protection. We reject the idea that our security must be outsourced to those whose bombs have shattered nations and whose policies have fueled the very chaos they claim to fight. No, this Africa knows true security is built by our hands, with our resources, for our people. This is not the Africa of puppets and beggars, where leaders recite speeches penned in foreign capitals and sign deals that betray the ones who elected them. That Africa is buried, and over its grave, we have laid the foundation of something unbreakable. Our leaders now answer to the cries of their people, not the whispers of ambassadors and consultants. We have learned that sovereignty is not declared. It is defended daily, in every decision, with every ounce of courage in our veins. This is the Africa of warriors, not just those who carry rifles, but those who fight in classrooms, fields, laboratories, and markets. Our warriors are the farmers who refuse to let foreign corporations dictate their seeds, the teachers who educate despite crumbling classrooms, the women who trade at dawn, sustaining families with nothing but resilience and will. This is the Africa of builders, hands that raise homes from ruins, minds that design bridges where rivers once divided us, innovators who take scarcity and turn it into something the world has never seen. We build cities without permission, industries without foreign bosses, and dreams without limits. Every brick is a declaration. We will not wait for others to shape our future. This is the Africa of dreamers. Not dreamers who sleep, but dreamers who dare, who see deserts and imagine fields, who look at empty skies and envision their own satellites, who see history's wounds and find lessons, not chains. We dream not from naivety, but because we know every great achievement began in the mind of someone who refused to accept the world as it was. And this Africa remembers the chains of slavery, the theft of our resources, the humiliation of being told our languages, cultures, gods, and names were worthless. We remember treaties signed under duress, borders drawn by strangers, leaders assassinated for standing tall. We carry these memories not as burdens, but as fuel. The pain of our past is the fire in our hearts, and we will never let it be extinguished. But we refuse to live in the shadow of that pain. We will not be prisoners of history, nor define ourselves by the wounds others inflicted. The future is too vast, too bright, to spend our lives staring backward. We honor our ancestors not by endless mourning, but by building the world they dreamed of, the one they were denied.